want to ask you about President Trump's quote, "One big beautiful bill." You voted for it last week. Why do you
Yeah.
think this is going to be good for the country?
Look, I think we had our backs up against the wall with these tax cuts that were from 2017 that were set to expire. You've had small businesses from around the country, every industry, every district that were begging us if we might have to close our doors if these tax cuts are not extended. So there was something for everyone in this bill. We were helping our small businesses and our working families. We increased our child tax credit. We increased the amount of the guaranteed deduction. We helped seniors by giving an additional $5,000 of tax cuts. You helped working families, by looking at those pass-throughs for some of their small businesses. In addition, we're giving Tom Homan and Christy Noman the support that they need to continue their work at the border to make sure that we have a secure border. We also looked at American energy production, and we looked at pulling back on some of the regulations that were strangling our American energy producers. All of those things I think are positives. In addition, we're also looking at manufacturing, recognizing the fact that what went through during COVID, we don't ever want to do again, and whether or not it's looking at pharmaceuticals or whether or not it's looking at just chips for our electronics. We want to make sure that they're produced here. So there's a lot of incentives for our manufacturing folks to make sure that they're moving from being across the country or across the planet, to making sure that we're having those produced in America. So there was something for everybody in this bill. Now, it's also just a first step. You had a number of us who were irritated by the fact that we're not cutting spending enough in areas that we absolutely could. And that's going to be something that with a rescissions package, it's going to be coming from the White House that we're going to be able to address, looking at our appropriations, looking at our budget, and looking at a second reconciliation package coming up later this year is something that we're going to be getting started on as soon as we get back to DC next week.
So there's talk of another reconciliation
Yep.
package
Mhm.
instead of just going through a normal budget process of
I
where
think
you've
I
got
think
the
you can do
12
both.
spending bills. Okay.
Yeah, I think you can do both. I think you can do both. But part of the reconciliation package is going to be looking at another tax bill, and it's also going to be looking at our spending. It's also going to be looking at some of the programs that we've got out there, and ones that we need and ones that we desperately need to save, such as Medicaid. Medicaid was created to help those folks who are in real rough, tough times. And what's happened is it's been extended and expanded so much that, the original people who are in need of that program won't be able to have it because it's not sustainable with the expanse that it's had. So we're moving back on not we are not cutting for people who deserve and who need to be on that program. But what we are saying is if you are a working age and you are working an able body, we need to get you off that program, and we need to get you to be in a position where you're either volunteering, you're studying to become have work policies, have work skills that can get you trained, that can get you a job or get a job. And these are not things that I think common sense people were against. In fact, I'd say the majority of Americans want able-bodied people at work and not on entitlement programs. If you are in our country illegally, you should not be on these entitlement programs. So I think, we have a lot of additional cleanup that we can do to address the waste, fraud, and abuse that have been identified, by the Doge efforts. But there's a lot that we are able to do. I just don't want people to get the wrong idea that this bill was like the one and only. We've got a lot of things that we can do from now to the end of this year.
And so this is being talked about right now, this second
Yeah.
reconciliation bill. And when
Well,
do
it's been being talked about, for several months now. I think Speaker Johnson's talked about it. I know Congressman Jason Smith, who was our chairman of Ways and Means, has been talking about it. So again, that will happen between sometime now and the end of the year.